Thanks, guys, for that first carrier update of the morning. Always good to see Andrew's face on a Tuesday instead of hosting with him on Wednesday. Our first guest, it's always great to see her face as well. We've got Grace Sharkey with us on FreightWaves Now this morning. Grace, welcome to the show.
Yeah, happy Tuesday for once. So
Happy Tuesday. I know,
it.
right? We've got our event tomorrow, so we're skipping our little bit of a Wednesday timeline, bringing you up. But this is pretty exciting. We're talking all about a company that's backed by Walmart, arguably one of the biggest retailers in America, and they just received an enormous amount of cash flow. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so just a little bit of cash flow, that's for sure. So I think what's really interesting here is we're focusing on India, right? A little bit outside, just a little bit outside of the U.S. And we're looking at Flipkart, which is a e-commerce. Really, if you go on their website, it's got a feel of Walmart, so you can tell it's definitely backed by them. It's e-commerce website for locals in India. And what I really love about this, and I was doing a lot of research in the last couple of weeks on India in general, is to take it back to the last time we talked. To the grassroots level, when you have a country of this size, this many people going through a digital literacy revolution, right? The ability to start using cell phones, the ability to know how to use phones appropriately, and also have the infrastructure to actually back them, you start to see this booming e-commerce market in one of the largest populations on the planet. And now investors are starting to run towards it. And Walmart was a big backer of this company in 2018. They bought 77% of the company and really all of SoftBank's shares of it. And now you have them going through this revolution, and you see SoftBank coming back into it. You see Canada has a couple of, I believe their pension fund is put 800 million into it as well. So they're able to raise 3.6 billion and are now valued around $37 billion. So what's really great here is just, it's a perfect example of what happens when this digital infrastructure starts to reach populations that haven't been able to touch this before, and this immense growth that they will likely see from them here in the very, very near future.
Crazy stuff, Grace. Good morning, by the way. How are you?
Good morning. Good. Good morning. It's weird to not see you at lunchtime.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, get ready tomorrow. But this is crazy. But Flipkart is really cool. You talked about the emerging tech space and digital and e-commerce in India. Massive, massive country as far as population and land mass as well. But it's interesting because Flipkart, when you look through it, it's not. And you're right; it is obviously branded Walmart when you look at the pictures of it. But I mean, so Flipkart is not only just e-commerce; they're bringing entrepreneurs into business. Correct? I mean, that's their whole platform, is getting the little guy into the business, and then once they're in the business, helping them grow and compete with the big guys, which is kind of like, hey, Walmart saying, hey, come on in here and compete with us, right? Kind of.
Flipping their cart.
Yeah. Flip our cart. Flip our cart over.
Yeah. Exactly. And you know what's interesting is they're one of Amazon's biggest competitors in the country. And you see this revolution of technology within the US, where it's like these white label services and platforms that are trying to do the same thing here in the US and democratize the way that small businesses can compete with Amazon. Well, what's interesting is over there is that they've already caught on to that. And now you have Flipkart, who's really pushing that same mentality while already competing with Amazon. So it's interesting to see how they really kind of give these small businesses, these very small businesses in India, the leverage that we're just starting to give small businesses here in the US, and how quickly they'll be able to compete with someone who's they're already easily competing with.
And so, Grace, while we're on this kind of strain of investments into the tech side of their supply chain, let's talk a little bit about the second story when it comes to the food and grocery delivery. That's kind of a hot topic, right? Is how are we going to use tech to get people better CPG goods? Talk to me a little bit about what's going on with Descartes.
Right. So Descartes, one of my favorite companies, because they know they're massive. They know they have a really great customer base, and they also have the trust of carriers, which is one huge thing for me is being able to create these type of tools that carriers trust and will use as well. But they know what they do well, and they know to lean on companies that are doing better in other areas. And this is a perfect example. So they acquired Green Mile, which really focuses on more of and I'm talking every aspect of food and beverage supply chain, up to deliveries, how often you need them, your inventory, down to the programming to close your bar down at the end of the night and make sure that you have appropriate numbers. I know I've had a little experience working in small bars and things like that, and it's definitely not the cleanest operation. So it's great to see that they're investing in an area that's also going to make these distribution companies' lives easier, but it's going to bring a lot of value to those distributions customers, right? To be able to say, hey, here's a tool to better manage your inventory and make sure that when your customers come in, now that we're all rushing to restaurants, that they come in, they have the products that they want and that are your specialties, but are also going to make sure that your employees are doing their job correctly and that all of the numbers on your back end as a restaurant or as some type of vendor are correct as well. So a lot of value added tools within that acquisition that I was happy to see.
Excellent, excellent. So that's and I've had some experience myself in closing down bars. You have the little liquor control board label on the side of the bar, and you better make sure that matches your receipts. Otherwise, so maybe a little bit easier thing than doing that. Yeah,
And how often did it not match?
Like every single
literally
every
single
night.
Every single night.
It's amazing how many bottles lost like 5 or 6 shots, and you never sold a single shot out of that bottle.
Well, and I'm less than a year out from having worked in that restaurant space, and you're talking about, we're still doing things hand by hand, and you're losing the efficiency and you're losing the tracking of this stuff, and it's creating a Word document on an iPad to track your inventory. Not the best way to do it.
But this is, so Descartes is specifically, this deal with Green Mile is specifically in the, it's not going to the consumer, right? This is not e-commerce Green Mile, like having vegetables and so on delivered to your home, right? This is for industry, for vendors.
Yes, this is for industry and for vendors,
Gotcha.
which I would say is going to be huge, right? Because I'm looking for every concert I can possibly find right now. So think of all of these companies, right? PepsiCo just had came out today. It's really great numbers. There's reasons for that. People want to go back out to venues. Craig just said it yesterday, right? On your show, like it's time to get back and see people. And this is the perfect investment to take advantage of that.
Yeah, you're right. 5 to 7 recording artists at the Coachella of Freight F3 in November. So be there or be square. I know you'll be there. I know Grace.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And then,
hey, let's talk about your favorite subject, cannabis.
That's funny. I am in Michigan, so
I mean, weren't they giving it out? If you got your COVID shot, they'd give you a free.
I think that was Colorado.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I think that was Colorado. At least I missed that flyer. That's for sure.
Okay. Yeah, but what's going on?
So Nabis, what's really interesting is they've taken over the California distribution of cannabis. I think when you start to dive into this stuff, it's very difficult to manage a product that's not federally regulated like each of the states. So what I really love about them is that they're focusing on an area, the distribution of it, the warehousing of it, having the documentation to handle that, which is a really interesting area to focus on. So, but on top of that, they've got some really interesting tools. So they just raised funds that they're going to focus on adding these tools like their factoring abilities, which, a lot of federal banks don't back cannabis distribution centers or vendors. It's all cash for that reason. And that's frustrating as someone who buys there as a customer, being able to plan that. It's just in this type of world, even everyone's parents aren't are using cards, and there's no one who's looking to use cash. So it's great to see that they're looking at these tools, including analytics platforms, in order to help these individual dispensaries plan and manage their products. And they're also kind of the same thing we talked about with Flipkart. They're giving these small brands an opportunity to compete with these larger brands. And that's really what this consumer base wants, is different products to test out. They don't want to go in and get the same thing every single time. So it's really great that they're focusing on an area, I think, that most people don't. Even Dutchy, when they raised, that was one of the first things that they acquired, was a distribution company.
Yeah, absolutely. And the factoring part of it, and the financing, the after the fact, the cash, the financing is really important. I know that there are some things. I knew that there are some legislation in there to kind of talk about that right now, for the federal banks. But yeah, very, very difficult.
Grace, thanks so much for coming up on FreightWaves Now this morning. We'll, of course, see probably a little bit of you tomorrow during our electric vehicles summit. And just wanted to clear something real fast. We said at the beginning, Flipkart was receiving a lot of cash flow. Meant to say capital raise there.
Yes. Yeah.
Thanks, Grace. We'll see you
Little
tomorrow.
clarification there. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much for that clarity, Kaylee.